Hey guys, time for another common sense gun review. Thanks for pulling up this video. I hope it gives you a little bit of information on this particular weapon to help you make a decision on whether or not to purchase and or carry it. Today we are looking at the Stoeger Cougar. This one is available in 9mm, 40 Smith & Wesson, or 45 ACP. What I have here is a 40 Smith & Wesson. Picked this one up through a little horse trading. I would say I have right at $300 in it, and I have done some research on this one in various mass market sellers of this type of weapon. You can go down to your local Academy Sports and pick this up for $299 brand new in the box. So low cost, budget type weapon, and we're going to get right into the review, starting with all the things that I feel are a positive about this weapon. Excuse me. We will start off with the fact that the Stoeger Cougar is actually a direct clone of the Beretta Cougar. Beretta Firearms were making the Beretta Cougar model. I believe they were retailing around $600, $650, right around the range of what you'd expect to pay for a fine Beretta firearm. And somebody in the executive office said, you know what, we can make these cheaper. Same quality, but cut the cost on them. And that's exactly what they did. They transferred all of the manufacturing, designs, whatnot, to the Stoeger Firearms Company out of Turkey. So that is what you have here. It is a Turkish-made clone of a Beretta product. It is Beretta designed, Beretta overseen, Beretta quality. So you are getting all of that without the Beretta price. As we typically do, we'll show you the weapon is empty. And the only magazine I have here is empty. So no live rounds here during the review and video process. So this Beretta clone, as I said, has all of the quality features of a Beretta firearm. It has a standard 5-year warranty on parts and failures and whatnot. And I've never had to use it, but from what I have heard, the customer service from Stoeger is just exactly what you would expect if you had to contact Beretta. So, good service, good backing of these weapons. The finish on this weapon is a nitrite hardened steel. It is tarnish resistant. It's got that classic Beretta feel and look to it. So, you're not going to have to worry about this one getting all corroded on you like some of your budget price firearms. Sometimes you can get to where they'll get a little wear on them and start corroding. These are nitrite hardened steel, so very well made weapon. The safety on this weapon is ambidextrous, as you can see. Righties or lefties can operate the safety on this. And another great feature is you see my hammer is back on this weapon. You hit the safety, drops the hammer. Now, if you had a live round in the chamber, it would not fire, because as that safety is going down, it doesn't block the firing pin. It moves the firing pin up into the frame, so it is impossible to strike. So, decocker, safety, takes the weapon into a non-operational state, because it also, oh sorry, out of frame, also deactivates the trigger. So this weapon has a very great safety feature on it. Again, something you'd expect from Beretta. Now, the magwell on this weapon, you guys have watched other videos that I've posted. I'm kind of a fan of a beveled magwell. It makes reloading in a stress situation a little easier. This one has slight beveling. It's not as much as on the Beretta 92. Wish I still had mine to show as a comparison. That one, and I still kick myself for this. I did end up trading that weapon years ago, but the magwell on this one does have a little bit of beveling, so I got to give them marks for that for a budget pistol. It's a 4-inch barrel, so it is a little bit shorter than your standard Beretta 92, but make no mistake, this is not a compact concealed weapon. You've got to be a fairly big individual, or always be wearing a suit coat or whatnot to be able to conceal this weapon comfortably and properly. If you are getting this weapon for a concealed carry piece, keep that in mind. The sights on this weapon. Standard Beretta style 3-dot sights. Both front and rear sights are removable, replaceable. I wouldn't think right out of the box you would need to replace the sights on this weapon because they are fairly good sights, unless you just want some night sights, maybe a fiber optic, something like that. But these are the good standard 3-dot white sights that come with most of your Beretta pistols, especially the 92. Another great thing about this weapon, and this is a feature that helps with accuracy, it helps with recoil. It's going to be hard to see on the video. I hope I can show it here, but let me get to where you can see the light. You probably won't be able to see it, but you might. So let me put the magazine in so it locks back. So when this weapon is chambered, or I'm sorry, when it fires, the barrel lifts and rotates. Now, what that does is it locks the barrel in place so it doesn't have that standard slight incline that you might get from the Browning style recoil that is typical in most firearms. The barrel stays right on target. I'm sorry, right on line with the rest of the weapon. So it's a slightly quicker return to target. It does help reduce some of the recoil. The 40 Smith & Wesson can be a fairly stout caliber, so you know, take that for what it is. It does help with recoil a little bit, helps with accuracy. It is a tried and tested design. You know, the Cougar model is not the first weapon to have a rotating, locking barrel, so that is a nice addition to a budget pistol. And as I said, it does reduce recoil considerably. This weapon, I've had opportunity to put maybe 350 rounds through it, maybe a few more. I haven't kept up with it as much because I just bought this for fun, for shooting, before I actually started doing these reviews, and it's performed adequately. I say adequately because I've not really put every type of ammo through it. I have fired some steel case through it. It handles the steel case just fine. It has never had an issue. Of course, steel case is a filthy shooting ammunition, but it has done nothing as far as failures to feed, failure to go into battery, stovepiping, none of those things. It has functioned very well. Brass case handles just fine. What I have not shot in this weapon are hollow points. I don't know how it handles, and some of your budget firearms do not like hollow point ammunition. This has been my experience. So I will do a test of hollow point ammunition and maybe just put it in the comment section. I won't do a follow-up video just for that, but this weapon does seem to eat whatever you put into it, with the exception of hollow points. I don't know yet. So accurate, just like any Beretta. The most accurate firearm I ever had was my Beretta 92, and this weapon comes in right behind it. Very accurate. You get what you aim at. So great weapon. Now, those are all the positives about this weapon, in my opinion. There are a few things to consider on the negative side. One being that getting magazines for this weapon is not an easy task. I mean, it's not as hard as trying to find magazines for some other notorious weapons like your ATI products and things of that nature. But the Stoeger Cougar magazines are slightly difficult to get a hold of. Now, you can use the Beretta Cougar magazines if you can find them, but your chances are your Beretta Cougar magazines are going to be used magazines because they don't make the Beretta Cougar anymore. So, you know, your mileage is going to vary on that. Sticking with the magazines, these are steel magazines, but they're a matte finish magazine. They just look cheap. And granted, I know they're trying to keep it down to a budget, so I probably can't really consider that a negative, but I like the magazine to feel like it's well made, because while my life is depending on the weapon is depending on the magazine. And if the magazine should fail, the weapon's going to fail. Not to say these are bad magazines, it's just a personal hang-up of mine. I would have liked a stainless finish on this magazine, or even a blued finish. I'd have been fine with that. This matte finish makes it feel like cheap pot metal, and I don't care for that too much. But again, it's a personal hang-up. It's probably not a real issue, because as you can see, you put the magazine in, it flies free. There's very little friction, so it's not going to hang up. It's a personal thing. I would have liked a little bit better quality on the mag finish. It is also an 11 round magazine. I don't know where they came up with the number 11. Could they have maybe made this bevel a little shorter and put in a 12th round? They probably could have. I haven't read the research specs on this one when they were designing it, so an odd number magazine, it just kind of throws me, unless it's like a 15 or something. Go with 10 or go with 12. But you have an 11 plus 1 capacity, so there's your 12th round. Carry one in the pipe, put the safety on, you're good to go. An interesting feature also about this magazine, you can probably see this here. It says Cougar 40 Smith & Wesson -357 SIG. Nothing I have ever been able to find anywhere with Stoeger's website or on the internet has shown that this weapon comes in a 357 SIG. Now, the Beretta Cougar may have well come in a 357 SIG. I've not been able to find this particulars on that. After a little bit of research, I'll keep looking at that, and I'll leave that in a comment as well. But perhaps this is a leftover magazine from Beretta days. I don't know, but the Stoeger Cougar does not come in a 357 SIG. Not a big issue for most because 357 SIG is expensive. It's not a very common caliber. You know, there are those who love it, like there are those who love the 40 Smith & Wesson and whatnot, but 357 SIG is not available in this weapon, even though the magazine says that it is. So, another negative about this weapon, getting away from the magazines, you know, I could talk about that all day, and you guys are probably thinking he's just crazy. It's not really an issue. Here's something that is an issue. This fine nitrite finish, which I do love, it is very slick. There's not a lot of grip, so there's not going to be any, you know, round checking from the front with that. It's just not, it is not a smart idea. The only place you can grip this weapon to rack the slide is here at the sides with the grooves. Now, I've gotten spoiled. I have several weapons that have grooves on the rear and closer to the front of the slide. This does prevent you from putting your hand in front of the barrel, which you never want to do, but you train yourself to do it right. Front grooves are actually very helpful. This weapon does not have them. So one thing just to keep in mind when purchasing this pistol, or if you are someone who is trained with front grooves to do, you know, checks that got around to the chamber, or if that's how you rack your slide in certain situations or whatnot, this weapon doesn't have it, and I don't recommend trying to do it. It's a very slick surface with very little purchase for any grabbing. So that is a negative in my opinion, because I like having front serrations. The final negative I will talk about this weapon is the packaging. Again, it is a budget pistol. I totally get that you are paying for the weapon. You're not necessarily paying for packaging, but the packaging on this one seems very chintzy. It's a plain cardboard box, and it's not just a cardboard box, it's a flimsy cardboard box. Was very disappointed when the person I purchased this from showed up with the box. I'm like, what is that, a shoe box that you just pulled together? No, it was the actual box that this weapon came with. The weapon is a fine weapon for the cost. Cardboard box really shouldn't mean anything, but all you get with this weapon is exactly what you see here, and a cable lock. But we all know in the real world nobody uses the cable locks. They're there for regulation safety. I've never known anybody that puts a cable lock on it unless they're putting it in their gun safe. Cable lock is totally impractical. But this weapon, this is how it comes in a thin cardboard box. They could have done a little more with the packaging. Again, $300 gun. I guess you can't really complain too much about that. What do you want for nothing? But I do think that if you're one of those who likes to get a weapon and get a lot of extras with it, the Stoeger Cougar may not be for you. Maybe look at the Springfield XD series. That's maybe $50 more, and you get a lot more in the box. So that's really what you're getting in the packaging. You're paying for, again, you're paying for great quality. but that's all you're getting is the weapon. The quality in the packaging is extremely lacking. So guys, that is the review of the Stoeger Cougar. It is a great weapon. I love it. I put it right up there with the Berettas I have owned. I do enjoy firing this weapon, and it is a weapon that I would have no issue saying would be reliable for carry, would be reliable for home defense. It is a weapon that you can pretty much guarantee when you pull the trigger, it will go bang. And it is accurate enough where you can say, I'm going to hit what I'm aiming at. Great weapon, solid quality, solid history. Just because it's got the name Stoeger on it, don't let that fool you guys. This is a Beretta firearm, designed and built just under a different name for the building. This is a Beretta. So $300 Beretta, guys. If you're really into Beretta firearms, you like this design of weapon, go out and find you one. I highly recommend it. Thanks for watching. Have a good one, guys.